on the fly to the new entrance. Alright? Back to what we were talking about is hi Roubik, Doc, there's a question that you might be interested to answer.
He wrote about that. So.
Now it's about mating. It's about mating. Dr. J asked how the actual mating occurs with one male, and how is that male determined? Is there a pecking order, or do the strongest survive, or whatever?
It happens in the air, and the female's flying around with virgin queen.
Okay.
And she has some power to reject the male. If the male is approaching, she should be able to detect by smell if it's too close a relative. Just how close they can cut it, I'm not sure. But it's usually the male that gets to her first and isn't brushed off by her or excluded somehow. The males don't do any fighting really among themselves. It's just to see who can get to where the queen is when she's flying around first and is not brushed off by her. Then there's a mating plug, which is left from the male, so there can't be another male that mates afterwards. So she just mates with her.
Yeah. Only one.
And she doesn't go out again the next day like honeybees who make several flights and maybe at different ages, make 30, 40 times. And that's all for life. Stingless bee queens once.
Okay. Do you think there's a pecking order before she decides on which
Pecking
male?
order of who?
Or the males?
Virgin queens? No, the males are just a big
Yeah,
group
they
of
just
males flying
yeah,
around.
yeah.
They don't fight. They don't have any devices for fighting. It's all about endurance and speed and having big eyes so they can see.
Yeah, they have bigger eyes.
But they all have that. It's just slight
Then
differences.
what about battling with other colonies like the Australian? You see, Megan Helcroft did a study on that, and she says that during the when the giant is out, there's like up to 7. They found up to 7 colonies of males that converge, trying, and they were battling.
But there's just one.
Yeah, only one will.
It's going through.
Yeah.
That's a congregation area. Lots of different males from different colonies. That's always the way it is.
Yeah.
How many different colonies depends on how many there are.
They did some DNA sequencing. They said that it was up to 7 colonies. That's Megan
That's just one
Helcroft's
study that probably
dissertation.
30, 40 colonies. And people have done more than one genetic study. The whole right group did.
Yeah.
In Australia has done most. One of the first ones they did was surprising. They had like 20 or so colonies that they could identify.
So in inter-colonies, they were battling according to them. Maybe they were not battling.
What they call battling, I have no idea what they mean. If engaging front to front, that's workers. You don't see
Not
that.
males.
Males
Okay.
have tiny little mandibles. They don't really do anything.
Okay.
The workers have bigger mandibles, but they're not really equipped for fighting either. But they do it.
Okay, that's very enlightening. For me too. That's why I guess to ask you.
Meaning the queen can sense the closer genetic connection with them. So they can reject if there are possible inbreeding will happen in the future.
Right, inbreeding kills them.
So logically,
Slowly.
they mate on other drones principally, or not on
first
the
thing that
drones
happens
itself.
is the
created by
colony
them.
gets rid of its males. It doesn't let males stay in the nest. So they can't be anywhere near the virgin that comes out of that nest. But they're somewhere out there. But they go looking for other colonies, which they find usually by following a worker from flowers to some other nest. She will have a pheromone, an odor from other working queens, which they acquire just by being in the same nest. The worker and virgin queen are in the same nest. The workers go out, visit flowers. Males are on flowers because they must feed themselves. They don't feed inside of a nest. So the males figure it out from what they smell on workers and flowers, and then they go and find those colonies where the worker came from. It says there's a queen there, unmated.
Nag-uusap din pala yun. Sa Bulaklaka nag-uusap. Happy ay po meron.
Any other questions while we're at it? Okay, Gary, carry on.
Yeah, I actually have two questions in my mind, which I'm thinking.
Yeah.
First question is, can we detect what type of swarming is happening by the movement of the bees and by the timing of the swarming?
Can you identify a type of swarm, whether it's a mating swarm or fighting swarm or invading swarm?
Who's there, and how many are there, how long they last, and what they're doing. I mean, a huge cloud of workers coming from somewhere and going somewhere else usually means they're actually going to start a new nest somewhere, and they may have a queen with them. That's a big group. If they're bees that are fighting with each other, that's usually two groups of workers, and the dispute has to do with a resource, either food or a place to build a nest. Different colonies are interacting. They don't just go and make a nest somewhere and no other bee notices. Other bees notice. And if it's the wrong thing for that species, if it would lead to too high density of colonies, which is exactly what you do in melipon areas like this, they often fight to prevent too many colonies from coming up and occupying the same place. Little groups of bees, I don't know, they could be trying to steal a little bit of cerumen from outside the nest. They could be lost.
Yeah.
Be different things, but for males, it's another thing. Big group, but if they're resting all over the side of the tree, those are males. That's another. And males don't go into the nest at night. They don't go into the hive. They stay outside.
Now I know, I can explain to my
Or under leaves.
At least I'm
Usually in groups. More than one colony, probably.
So I have one more question, sorry.
It's okay.
As you mentioned, the queen bee can detect whether the drone is close relative to her. So what if I'm from one island and then I introduce one species of bee, a new one, like I bought one colony, for example, a Biroi colony, and I'll bring it to my place and it's the first colony of Biroi in my place, for example. And since inbreeding is not good, will the queen accept a mungo-mungo species to mate the Biroi species?
If brother-sister mating's ever happen, then that colony is subvital. And it won't be able to produce very many workers because if there's enough inbreeding, what's supposed to be a worker becomes a diploid male, which doesn't function as a worker, it doesn't function as a male. So it's a total waste. The colony will die. If it's a small population of the exotic species, just 1, 2, or 3, they won't exist for long.
So there's no interbreeding between species?
No.
Only for humans.
If you're talking to species, it must be reproductively isolated. Hindi ba po pwede?
So in farms like ours, we should always have a new brood from somewhere else. I mean, a new colony. I mean,
You want to bring more colonies of the same species from somewhere else, bring them into where you have.
yeah.
I think that's good. That encourages outcrossing.
Okay.
Makes it possible to have new genetic combinations which may be valuable for the bees. You never know. I mean, there's no way to know. If a new combination is better, it might also be worse. So you take your chances.
Can I ask? During the conference, I think I heard somebody there saying that in 1 hectare of land, the best number or the recommended number of colonies is this. What is your idea
Depends on the land.
on the
Depends on the
forest?
forest.
A forest, a real forest with 1,000 species.
Man-made forest.
Man-made forest could be anything. You're talking about teak trees or coffee, some other thing. You know,
In a fruit orchard, like pomelo and different
like
kinds of
rambutan, that would be good.
So how many?
What other kind of fruit orchards are
Banana,
coconuts. You can just hire
Yeah, we have
bees.
coconut
They're great.
and avocado.
Flowering that's happening a lot. That's one kind of orchard that can be that you put a lot of them in.
Because right now I only put 20. I did not look
That's
around.
fine. Well, you have to know how far your bees are likely to forage. Most people are surprised to know even little stingless bees go a half kilometer. That's not a problem. Medium size, we don't have any medium sized ones. Big ones go 4 kilometers, 5 kilometers. Big Brassica, which is like the biggest stingless bee Southeast Asia. We've marked them and gotten them go, detected them back in their nest after being released 3 kilometers away. So that's a big area. But your question is how many can you pack in there? If they have flowers most of the time. What you have to do is look at your colonies once in a while in the morning when they're foraging and it's nice weather. If maybe one bee goes in, or let's say 5 bees in a minute. Some of them have pollen, which you can see. And others are just going in, presuming they get something. 5 per minute means they're doing okay. Nobody for a couple of minutes means they're not doing too well. So you go by that. Other than that, use your intelligence. You can figure out maybe 1,000 colonies in a little area is too many. Maybe 100 is a better idea. But maybe it should be less than 100. That's where you don't know. And the flowering isn't the same all year. It isn't the same in this plot or whatever compared to the other one over there, even though it's the same plant, the same kind of orchard.
So you got it? Okay, so basically we were at the mango orchard and we tried to work out, just estimate. Problem was at that orchard the trees were not all the same maturity. There's some which are 20 years old, some which are newly planted. So those that were 20-year-old, we were trying to work out the canopy because that would determine the density of flowers that you might get when it's flowering season. It was going like 150 square meters of the canopy for the 20-year-old. And they were putting only 1 hive per tree. Yeah? So it probably would work for a 20-year-old tree, but for the 2-year-old mango tree or just fruiting, you may require, only 1 hive probably can cover 4 trees. But like Dr. Roubik was saying, you look at the fly-in, fly-out activity, and you got to use your common sense, a bit of observation to gain the experience, and to understand the bees. You need to sometimes sit down in front of them for a couple of hours, just studying their going ins and out.
But if you want to be really sophisticated, you've got a nice little box. You can put it on a scale.
Yeah.
You can say, okay, it weighs this much today. Tomorrow, the next day weighs this much.
Yeah.
Up, more or less stable.
Yeah.
Scale hives are a really good way to do things. Nobody has done that with stingers. We did a little bit of that in Mexico for a couple of years. It was real obvious when they were doing well, they would way up like that. And when they was not good, they would go way down.
So it's things
Or when
like
they
that
sport.
that we need to steal his ideas, because the bees, you would know better about beeroid than him or me or anyone from Australia, let's say, because you are beeroid, right? But we can give you ideas of how to go about it, what's best, how the other people do it, how other parts of the world do it. And then, of course, it still boils down back to you on how you use your gray matter,
You know what they do in Africa? With the African honeybees are the honeybees I study most. And in Africa, they keep them in log hives, long horizontal hives about this big. And they have to tie them up by rope in trees to keep them away from the baboons and the honey badgers, maybe, but usually baboons. So it's up there, it's like this. If it's like that, that means they're heavy. They have a lot of honey. Then it's time to lower them and take the honey. Otherwise, leave them up there.
Indigenous knowledge.
Yeah, indigenous knowledge, okay, and even where I come from, indigenous knowledge is very much valued, Never discount them. Sometimes things you never thought of.
Manage na people.
Yeah, the expert for indigenous.
So I suggest we call it a break for now, and we'll have lunch.
Pwedeng yung queen ang mag-reject. Busted ka.
If you have any more questions, just compile it. We will discuss it again after lunch. Yeah.